Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. And I will admit anyone in 1 minute.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm just going to pin our speaker. Okay, there we go.
Okay. All right, I'm admitting everyone right now.
Okay, good.
Hello,
You're
everyone.
introducing me?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening or good morning if you're in the some part of the world. I hope you all can hear me. Hello, all. My name is Wei. Welcome to the second Zoom session with Burt Harding and Susie. Burt, Susie, and I are very happy to meet all of you over the internet. But at the same time, we are all in this reality talking about love, talking about emptiness, talking about the great realization that Burt has. And he wants to talk about A Course in Miracles today and why this is the only material that will help us for awakening. And let's welcome Burt Harding. Burt, please go on.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. Yeah, yeah. I'm very. This is new to me. The reason I want to start this one is because something happened when we were in the lessons of the course. It's just like it knew whatever we were feeling at the moment, and we would read a verse, for example, and then I say, "Oh, that's exactly how I've been feeling and thinking," and you probably say the same thing. Well, the last few nights, I've had dreams, and every time I wake up, when you read me the lesson in bed, it will be the same thing that I've been dreaming. And then I thought, oh my gosh, that this is a message for me to do something about this instead of retiring completely from teaching the course. Um, so now, why am I saying this? Well, first of all, I'm very impressed with one of the programs that the Course in Miracle teaches, and I've never really seen it being taught anywhere else. Susie is quite familiar with these four, but my interest is in one that's never been used, as far as I'm concerned, in any teaching capacity, which is called the pure non-duality. Okay, there are duality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, could you explain that? What that?
Yeah, duality is where there's me. I think I'm separate from everything else out there.
Mm-hmm.
The world is real. The universe is real. It's solid. It's material. It's hard. It exists. It existed before I showed up. I showed up, and I have to interact with everything out there as separate from me. That's duality.
Okay, and then there's the second one,
which is semi-duality.
Semi-duality, right?
Now, these terms we're using, they come from Gary Renard and The Disappearance of the Universe. The Course itself doesn't use those exact terms to describe these attitudes of learning that people go through when they start to awaken into oneness. So the second one is semi-duality, and according to Gary's description in Disappearance of the Universe, it's when, even though we still think we're a body in the world, we still think we're alone, we still think everything else is real out there, we start to have these true ideas that we just know in our heart are true. Those are ideas such as God is love, life is eternal. So we have those ideas, and somewhere deep in our heart, we really, really think that those are true. But our existence as a separate body in the world, thinking this is who I am, I was born and I'm going to die, go against those ideas. So we then, in our minds, try to reconcile it and understand how can they both be true. And then that's where the next level comes in.
And the next one is the new one?
Non-duality.
Yeah,
So the
right.
next level is non-duality. And
Yeah.
what that is where you recognize that you're not actually the body in the world, that everything that you've ever experienced or you can remember or say or know, every book you've read, every course you've attended, every TV show you watched, at the news, every photo you ever seen, whether it's a photo of Africa or a photo of Pluto or it's a photo of galaxies way off in the universe, every single thing that has occurred in my consciousness.
In your consciousness, that's
So
right.
instead of being a
And
body,
this is what is popular now,
Mhm.
more than everybody teaches
Mhm.
about consciousness. But there is one thing that I don't know how many people know this, but consciousness and ego, it is not based on reality, on truth itself. Prior to consciousness, sometimes referred to as the Big Bang, or the fall of man, there was another state called pure being. So we were in oneness, and we call this oneness God. And it is this that has existed forever. In other words, you and I, we were part of this oneness. I recall, I'd like to tell you an experience I've had in 2007, which taught me about oneness very clearly. I was married at the time, and her name is
Sylvia.
Sylvia. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Susie. She was Sylvia.
Right. Right. And yeah, we went out to dinner, and we had a very good dinner. We came home, and I was feeling rather well. But all of a sudden, out of the blue, I began to develop a fever. And that fever kept getting worse and worse and worse. My face became redder and redder. But what happened is that my eyes are already very bad at that particular time. But as the fever grew more fierce, I began to see things I didn't see before. I could see the slightest things on the wall, the titles of the books that were at 20, 30 feet. And so I said, no, don't call 911 because I think this is just a spiritual emergence. She didn't understand what I meant by spiritual emergence. And sometimes this has happened when a person needs a particular awakening, a particular opening of the heart. In other words, when a person is ready. When I felt that that was what was happening, but I wasn't sure. That evening, my fever up to 106, and she was getting very worried, and I was becoming very weak. And then it stopped all of a sudden, and I started to tremble all over, shake, and shake so bad that I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. This went on, believe it or not, for 3 days without eating or sleeping or doing anything at all. Finally, I believe it's on the 3rd day or so, I couldn't get up and I was dying. And she called 911, and the emergency ambulance came, and she took me to Vancouver General Hospital. And they weren't sure what was wrong with me. I had lesions all over, black, blue, red. My thigh went a little bit bigger than my right one. My left one bigger than the right. And anyway, I was a mess. But one thing happened is that as I was brought in on the gurney and arrived at the hospital at that very moment, I had an out-of-body experience. And there were the nurses and the staff there, the doctors and patients in the hospital. Everybody's busy. But this is a strange thing that when I looked at a person and I saw them, I knew exactly everything that they were thinking and feeling, their hobbies, their married life, what they did between the leisure time or whatever. In other words, I knew everything completely. What is, oh, okay, sorry, I saw something on the screen there. I'm blind, so when I see something, oh, somebody's trying to tell me something. But anyway, so to continue, my attention went to another person, and all of a sudden I saw the same thing. I went to the doctor who was looking at me, and immediately I saw everything about him. But there was no judgment. There was no saying this is wrong or this is right. None of that. I knew them so well, it was as if it was myself. And then later, when I discussed the story with you, you said to me, Burt, were you seeing them one at a time? I said, no, because the state I was in, which is out of body, I saw everything at once. This means that time doesn't exist in out of body experience, which is the true state, which is our true spiritual state. And this is what's so beautiful. And this is how I understood about this program, that pure non-duality is that state, but that state is not achieved. You are already that. So when she asked me, Burt, were you thinking as an individual? I said, no, I saw them all at once. And when I looked at them, I knew I was seeing them, but who was this I? So I called myself I am, because I didn't think of the name Burt at that particular moment. I was everything. And that was my first glimpse of oneness. That in truth, we are all one. And we're all part of that one. And so the thing that's so important, which I feel, we need to have special people coming to a special course like this to learn and progress at a rate which they never thought was possible. It is to realize who you really are. The body is important. Yes, everything is important that you do. You eat, sleep, have sex. Everything goes on the same. But you know that you are spirit, and it's the spirit doing it through you. That is the major thing. And I had a perfect link then. And I saw the light. And within the light, I heard a voice, and the voice said to me, do not be concerned, do anything. Just don't do anything. Just when they put you to sleep, sleep, whatever it is. And don't do anything at all. And then in about 4 days or so, you'll be perfectly normal. This is something that you have to go through. And I don't know where the voice came in or who it was. I like to believe it, but I don't know. And so it was over. After 4 days, I was very calm. I was very happy. As a matter of fact, when they wheeled me around, I had such a smile on my face. I looked so happy that they thought I'm a little loony, And one of the doctors told the nurse, he said, I think we got a stupid one here. But anyway, I heard it and I laughed at it too. It simply didn't matter because there was no ego at that time, really not much anyway. And I also knew that I'd also be okay. It's what I expected. It was a spiritual emergence. Well, they had bed, and I stayed there for the 4th day. Susie, who happened to be my wife at that time, Sylvia. I'm sorry,
That's
honey.
okay.
I don't think of Susie. And anyway, she brought me organic food, vegetables, fruit, watermelon, etc., etc. And I fed with those. But within 5 days, I think it was the 5th, I went home. The 6th day, I was cycling, and I was perfectly normal. But the thing that I want to leave you with is that I had an experience of what it's like to be one, to feel like one. So now, is there Burt anymore? Well, there's a name, and there's a body that seems like Burt. But when I see you, when I see Susie, this is all I see, really, because if I hurt you, if I say something to you and hurt you, I suffer the pain. You see, because we're all one. So whenever you're judging anyone, you're really judging yourself. If you're thinking about someone in a negative way, you're really thinking about yourself. And there is no separation among us. So the first lesson that I would like to teach and share with Susie and myself is that there is no separation between us at all. Not all just between us, but I mean to everybody in the universe. We're all one family. And when you start to love, really love, that's when you flower. That's when you flourish. Now, did we mention the 4 programs?
We did.
We did. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, the 4th one, which
Mhm.
we'll be teaching every Wednesday, which we're doing to between ourselves, is called pure non-duality. You won't find anyone teaching this, at least as far as okay. The reason maybe because most people are not ready for it, maybe because most people are not ready to see that they're more than body. I don't know for sure why, but this is the truth. I know this for a fact, and I'm totally dedicated to doing this. Because if I don't do this, then I'm not being true to myself. And so what we will be sharing with you is all part of that non-duality. You do have a body, you do what you do, your name is still who you are, but in truth, in reality, you were never born because you were that pure being before the Big Bang and the fall of man, and then consciousness to being. The moment consciousness came into being, and this is mentioned in the Bibles and scriptures and the Course in Miracles, is that the moment consciousness came into being, we became that consciousness, and it is ego. It is that consciousness that builds up our body, that built the body itself. And God did not create the world. God is pure non-duality, is pure being. The totality of all of us is this one being called God. I love God because it makes me feel warm, it makes me feel beautiful. It's all love, it's all beauty. And as a matter of fact, I did have another out-of-body experience, which was much, much earlier than 2007. And it taught me a great deal that what I was taught as a child, I was brought up a Catholic during the war. As a matter of fact, I was 6 years old when the war broke out. And I used to wonder why people kill each other. Well, they blow themselves up. Well, how insane this is, you know. There's always an urge for me to find out what the truth was, you know. My father was in the Navy, and I asked him, he says, well, crazy. When I was 17, I was extremely depressed, because I couldn't know the truth. The Catholic Church told me that I was born in sin. That's not true. But I believed it then. It told me, like everybody else, that sex is a sin unless you're married. That's not true. And it told me that there's a purgatory, a hell, and there's a devil. And every time I went to church, the priest would preach about the devil and the sin that we were living by. Well, it got to me a little too much. But I became depressed. I didn't know what to do, but I prayed that I would meet a teacher who would teach me to wake up. Because I was, at that point, I was living in Malta, incidentally. Malta is a British Dominion, or was then, until 1956. And now it's a socialist government. And at that time, the British fleet was stationed all in Malta. So when the Germans attacked in 1939, Second World War, they wanted to destroy Malta completely because it held in all the British fleet, etc. So anyway, we were all British subjects at the time. So when I reached teenage years, I felt that I needed to find a teacher. I need to know the truth. This is what I wanted more than anything. And I thought, well, if I travel and go to Canada, maybe I'll find a teacher, which I never did nonetheless. But no, I did. That's right. That's right. I met him from Mahar in 2000. No, it was 73, right?
Mhm.
That's
He
it.
appeared to you, right?
Right, that's right.
In
Yeah.
an image.
Yeah. But anyway, I just want to go that the second thing that happened to me when I was 17. There was a big storm, in Malta is an island, but when storm happens, it's not like when here in Canada, you get rain, it doesn't matter, you put a raincoat, fine. But in Malta, you don't even go to work. The wind can get so ferocious that you feel as if you're being lifted off your feet. That's not kidding. And so nobody does anything during a storm like that. Well, it happened to be a very stormy day and a particular time. And I'll finish the story by telling you what happened to me, and then we can go on from there, which plays a relevant point which we have to discuss with you. I was all alone. I was very depressed. I leaned over the
A railing.
a railing, right, and down below the railing was the beach, with about 15 foot on the rocks below. You see, but what happened is that I was leaned over. A gust of wind threw me over. I fell on the rocks. But what happened then is before I hit the rocks and I became all bloody. I didn't break any bones, fortunately, but I was all blood. That was a mess. And two men saw my body, not me. I'm seeing all this. I'm outside, seeing all this outside in my pure form, my pure spiritual true state, which is beyond time and space. Don't forget. So there is no sin. There is nothing wrong, because it's a time and space that creates all our craziness. But when you live in time and space, which of course I would love to share with you as we go on every Wednesday, you'll live happily and healthily and okay, because nothing would worry you, nothing would bother you. You're more than a body. But anyway, I was seeing my body being carried away by these two men. They put me in a truck. It wasn't the best truck in the world. It made a lot of, but I knew that where they took me was the hospital. And as I was roving around, I felt such peace, such beauty, such love when I was outside in this incredible space. There was no up, there was no sideways, there was no down. Like I said, there was no space. But what it means, there's no space. It means that if I were to say, I'd like to be in Germany, boom, I'm in Germany. You see? Because it's just like right now, for example, we are in a very technical age. What is the word? Technology, right?
Technology.
Technology is beyond time and space. Did you know that? If you send an email to someone, it doesn't travel all the way to Australia. It takes time and take transport. It's there. As I say with the phone, if you call somebody on the phone, we take it for granted. You sell a cell phone and you talk to someone 100 miles away, boom, they get the call right away. Okay, because there's no time and space in technology. So far we have advanced enough to start knowing the possibilities of our true nature. You see, we still see ourselves as a body, which can be helped. We still see ourselves as an ego, as separate from each other. And that's why we create wars and we create racism and we create ignorance. That can be helped too. It's part of our growth, because you identify with the body that your parents brought you in, or the religion they brought you in. But in truth, there is no religion. There is no bigging up. There is only what is, and what is very beautiful. And the beauty of that moment when I was in that space, I was so happy and free. But then, even then, I was still thinking and I was still feeling. And when I was 8 years old, I was abused sexually by a priest. And that feeling came just in a split second. while I was out of the body. And you know what happened? I felt love for this priest. I forgave him without trying to forgive him. Why? Because in that state, you know only love, nothing else but love. And you cannot help not love. Why? Because you're not in time and space. And this world is in time and space, you see? And that's why, you know, we have to take care of the body, we have to go to work, we have to put up with so many things because space creates traffic, airplanes, etc., you know, transportation. And the body has to be taken care of. You exercise to keep in good shape and so on and on. And time goes by, so your body gets older and older with each year. But in truth, none of this is happening. In truth, you are a spirit. And so when I see people listening,
Hello, everyone. It seems Burt has some technical issue on his end. Susie is trying to fix it. Susie, if you can hear me, I think you can try to log in again and see what happens. In the meantime, we'll see if we have lost everything. Okay. Okay, can you guys still hear me? I guess people stayed on still can hear me. Good. Okay, let me see. You can unmute yourself if you like while we're waiting. And I will just message Susie to get her to log on again. I think she's doing that. Yeah, I think Bert's internet connection is a bit slow today for some reason. His video is not that smooth. Would you guys like to have a discussion in the meantime, or?
sure, why not?
Anything you want to talk about? Are you familiar with the Course in Miracles?
I have the book.
Great.
But I haven't been lately. I've been more pulled towards not reading things for some reason. Like I used to really be into reading stuff, but lately it's just been, I just want to put aside all concepts.
Right.
Yes.
I kind of feel the same way.
Mhm.
See what you mean.
Mhm.
Because I think when we read stuff, very often we use our cognitive ability,
Yes.
which is counterproductive to to the enlightening process. But I find reading Course in Miracles is more like a experiential, you know, more as an experience rather than an input of information.
Have you heard about heaven letters?
Heaven letters?
Yes.
No. Tell me about it.
If you really like A Course in Miracles, I think you will love Heaven Letters. It's basically a website, and it has a cosmic heaven letter generator.
Mhm.
And there's over 6,000 letters. And when you press that button, you receive whatever you need in this moment, like one page, and it's always on point. I've been reading it for like 2 years, and it feels like it's actually God from within that has wrote it, and then God from within is receiving it from God as God. It's like sometimes when I read it, I don't know who wrote it and who's reading it. It's like, it's
Wow.
amazing. I didn't know such a thing existed until it found me. Yeah. So it's heavenletters.org, and it's for free too. So it's amazing.
That's great. Let me read it. I will read it. Heaven Letter. I used to be a student of philosophy, so I read a lot of books, literatures. Now I still study things like Wittgenstein, for example, the philosophy of language and the pictures theory. I think is still relevant to my own journey of seeking truth. But I don't know how you guys think about it, about studying or there's a parallel of science and philosophy that's also intersect with the spiritual awakening, or is completely irrelevant to you guys?
I don't know anymore. I really don't know anymore what's needed, what's necessary, and yeah. So it's like I'm not gonna give my opinion about it because I have no opinion about it. Yeah. But I noticed that a lot of the urge to seek can also be a distraction from what is actually here.
Yeah.
Within myself. Like I'm sitting here, it's like peace and silence, and it's like stillness, and there's oneness, and then comes this impulse. But can you confirm it with this guru or this teacher? And it's like, oh no. And then it's like, so I noticed that it can be another way for the I thought or the ego structure to survive or something, to continue seeking, even though everything's already here.
Mhm. It's
Yeah.
outward looking in a way.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
I agree.
And also the identity of being a seeker, it's also, it has, you can get high of that, always a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious mind.
Yes. But it doesn't seem to be so interested in actually realizing what's here, even though it says I'm seeking freedom. Sometimes I feel like that's not what the mind actually wants,
Mm-hmm.
at least in my own case.
Let me call Susie and see what's going on, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, we're back.
Can I see if the people were listening or
We're back in. We should be seeing Wei soon.
We have audio, but I don't see video.
Yeah, Susie, can you hear us? Can you turn on your video?
Yeah. There it is.
Good.
It should be there right now. Oh, wait a sec. The emergency. Okay, we're here now.
All right.
There we are. Yeah, something happened. The computer, it looked like it was being taken over and everything disappeared. So, but we're back. But Burt was in the middle of talking about your out of body experience in Malta when you fell into the breakers in a storm and you had an out of body experience.
Mhm.
Remember? And then you remembered all of a sudden you had a flashback to a painful episode in your life. And in that very moment, you forgave it.
That's right. And that's what I wanted to talk about too, which is so important. So important. Is Wei still with us?
Yeah, we're on, honey. Everything's we're on.
We're
recording.
on?
We're
We're
on recording.
recording?
Yeah,
on.
that's where I just recapped what we just did.
Oh,
Yeah.
so okay, good. Yeah, I apologize. I'm not keeping up with technology, even though it's beyond time and space.
You're beyond time and space, honey. Technology needs to keep up with you.
In that moment when I was in space and I felt fantastic, I felt so good, so free. And for the first time, I knew what was important and what is real. And so when the memory of that priest, which unfortunately abused me, I didn't feel anything except that I liked him. He was a good man, and I wanted to, it was fine, everything else. And then the moment I began to talk in terms of returning, boom, just like that, I was in the body. I entered the body. And I was a bloody mess, and the nurses were taking care of me, bandaging me, and they said that I might have to stay there for a while. Nothing was broken, but I needed treatment for many bruises and many cuts, etc. So fine. When I was okay to go home, and a lot of people asking me questions, but I don't want to go into that. I went in search of the priest, but unfortunately, wherever I went, nobody would give me an answer. I guess, and I mean, I was smiling, looking happy. I wasn't reporting something bad happened. I just wanted to meet him and say that everything is okay. Okay, so we'll go from here. This is one thing that I've learned about the Course and the pure non-duality, is that you don't have to do anything to get back your happiness. Because happiness is your true nature. Your love is your true nature. You're more beautiful than you can ever imagine. And this means that your true self, which is your spirit self, is complete. And it's ageless. And it has no beginning or end. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're still on. Just my computer's still rebooting, so you're seeing pop-up screens.
Okay. So they're hearing me, right?
Yeah, everything's working.
Okay. So this is the beautiful thing that I've discovered, is that I still was giving a few programs we call Skype sessions. And whenever I applied these principles in the Skype sessions, the people flourished and they dealt with their problems. One thing, I used to work as a hypnotherapist many years ago, and I've dealt with all kinds of problems. When I was at home, I was getting so many emails every day asking me questions. And the questions were always practically the same. Why do I have so much suffering? Why is the world so difficult? Why is this happening? Okay, so, but what I feel here, as far as the Course is concerned, in this particular approach, and incidentally, the Course was written by Jesus the Christ. And I'm sure that many of you are aware of that. And it was written, what years were they? taken.
I think it was channeled through Helen Schuckman, and it took
Right.
7 years in the mid 60s to the early 70s. I think.
Right. Yeah.
It took 7 years for the whole thing to be channeled.
Yeah, there are 2 million copies in circulation of the course right now, and there's quite a few people giving classes. But as far as I'm concerned, and I'm talking about myself here, as far as I'm concerned, nobody is really teaching the pure non-duality. And the pure non-duality is the simplest thing that you can teach. If you feel you are ready for it, now how do you know that you are ready for it? Because your love of truth is very strong. If you really want to know the truth, if you really want to know who you really are, not the name and not the profession that you're in, but who you really are, then the chances of you really growing and expanding are tremendous. And I would love to meet you if you happen to have that great desire to know. Um, uh, Susie I've seen her grow. We've been together now for 2.5 years, right?
Mhm.
And boy, have you ever grown since then. So, and you love the course, and
Mhm.
so is there anything that you'd like to add regarding the pure
Not add so much,
non-duality?
but back to you've been spiritual seeking or spiritual teacher as well as a seeker for
60 years?
60 years.
Yeah, I'm 88
Mhm.
now, so yeah.
And if everything else you've read, everything else you've been exposed to, every other idea within regard to finding our true nature or our true home, why specifically, what is it that the course is saying in it that makes you realize that this is a solid foundation for our way home to
Very
God,
good.
where we belong?
Very good question. Okay. Yeah, it is. I saying this way because first of all, people think that judges. And when I say God, He's the ultimate one. We're all one with that God, with that one being, which is light. And this light, this great, vast, unbounded being is pure unconditional love. Believe it or not. So there is no judgment in him or her. There is no, you've done wrong, you should be punished type of thing. There's none of that at all. It's all love, perfect, perfect love. And so when you begin to feel it and experience this great love in you, which you can do quite easily doing the course, because the course is so incredibly written too by Jesus himself, but it's not easy to understand. And as you probably know from talks that I've gave earlier, is that I found it very hard to understand in the beginning. As a matter of fact, I bought it as soon as it was published. But when I got it home, I said, "Is this Greek? What is it talking about?" I didn't understand it, and so it took me a while. But I always treasured it. I always knew that this wasn't written by human hands. This is a great teaching, and okay, so that's where I go now to answer your question. Why is it so great? Because our true nature is that love and purity and innocence itself, but we do not feel it because we still think, excuse me, because we still think we are a body. When you believe that you are a body, you can't help it but feel guilty. Now, guilt is a discomfort in you, the feeling as if I'm not good enough. I've done something wrong. Somehow or other, I'm not complete. This feeling is very subtle, it's nagging. And as I did more research, I find that the great percentage of humanity suffer through this. Oh, they try to become more beautiful physically, they try to build up a better body, they put makeup on, a lot of money, they try to achieve worldly things, but somehow it doesn't suffice. It doesn't do. But when you find that you go along with this law, because you see, this law is the willingness of the love of God, for example. There's only one will, and that one will is also yours. What is your will? If I say to you, what is it that you want in life? You know, you probably say, I want $1 million, or I want to find the right person, or or the right wife, whatever. Or I want to buy a big house, or I want to be successful. But no matter what it is, what you're really looking for, realize it or not, is to be happy. Because you think that when you got the things you want, it's going to make you happy. But happiness is not based on a thing, on an objective. Happiness is the very nature of spirit, which your physical makeup is not conditioned that way. It's conditioned by the world. It's an egoic thing. It's a very surface separative thing. So you feel separate from other people because you haven't learned yet that we are all one, that everything is oneness. So therefore we go through a process as we do this, that we really in our heart, we are all one with another. How you feel about another is how you feel about yourself. When you criticize another, you're criticizing yourself. When you hate someone, you're hating yourself. When you seek revenge, you're the one that pays the price eventually. So it's a hard thing to but because it has to happen that way. Because we're fighting ourselves. We're all one. I have met so many women who have everything besides beauty and money and everything, but they're not happy at all, complaining most of the time because they haven't found what makes them fully happy. You see, always complaining at some problem or other, and they're suffering. But what is suffering? It is when you're deprived of the very happiness that you want more than anything. Because once you find who you are, everything in your life, your health, your outlook on life, because again, you're seeing the big picture. See? So anyway, just to make long story short, what we will be focusing on every Wednesday at 4 p.m. This is called
Pacific time.
Pacific time, yeah.
On Zoom.
On Zoom, right. Yeah, we'll do it every Wednesday. And the focus is that you will follow what we talk about, what we discover, and the mere discovering about yourself, and you'll find that you'll find greater happiness and meaning in your life. You'll find fantastic way to live.
We have a couple of questions, honey, if you want to answer some questions.
Sure, yeah.
It's from Tayeb. So here's the first. It says, hello. Are these spiritual stages occur in linear manner or in spiral or in an instant? Okay, you go back and forth between the two levels. So in a way, it is kind of like a spiral. So you go back and forth between these stages.
Good question. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And the next one is, can we have an out-of-body experience whenever we want?
Yes. If we are not afraid of it. The fear is great. The moment you try to do it, you begin. First of all, you see, when you try to get out of your body willingly and consciously, what happened is to a paralysis. This can be helped because as you try to get out of the body, what you see, what really is alive in you is your body. Your senses are so enhanced when you're out of the body. It's just, oh, you see colors you've never seen before. You feel an energy so loving and grander that it's a loneliness and fear do not exist because there is no time and space. But also another thing happens is that when you start to get out of the body in order to adjust itself, to leave, it goes into a paralysis. And if fear comes in at that point and we fight it, then we're not able to
That's like sleep
project.
paralysis.
It's like a sleep paralysis.
Okay, so it's the
yeah.
fear that keeps us from that
It's
sudden-
fear, but
Okay.
in time, we'll be able to practice it. Yeah.
Okay, I have some questions here. Aren't people accountable for what they did? Like in your case, that priest was responsible for the heinous act.
Yes, of course, everybody's responsible for what they do. But you see, what happens is that when we pass away from the body and go into the spirit, we also go through it's called a review. If you studied near-death experiences, you'll find that 90% goes to this review. Review means it reviews how you thought, how you spoke, what the acts that you did that are not right, for example. And so it's experiencing like you hate someone, or you fought someone, you punched someone. Okay. Now, when it comes for your turn to learn about it, that wasn't right, you get the punch. You experience what that person experienced, because in truth, we are one. So go into that space, you begin to experience everything that you've done to others, which for a short while becomes like, a little sometimes unpleasant. But the thing is that there is no time in that space, so it could happen extremely fast. You could relive a whole lifetime or even more in just a short space of time, but it is not pleasant, and it leaves you totally. And if you do any study about near-death experiences, and they've been over 1 million now collected in records, you will find that they all have changed in their attitude about life. They're all more loving. They're all more spiritually oriented. Um, love is the motivating factor. Love is the one thing that flourishes, because there's no limit to love, absolutely no limit. And we keep growing and growing in that capacity. So when you come back, and the doctors, medical science right now has found a system where they can create, we bring them back to life.
Resuscitation?
Resuscitation, right? Okay. Yeah, very fast. Even if the heart has stopped for an hour or two, they're able to bring you back. And then when you bring back, you also bring back all the memories that you've had in the other realm. You see? And so you'll find that deal with people in this world totally differently. You'll become more understanding, more loving, more open, more giving. And I would suggest from now on, if you're really interested, go into your computer and find out near-death studies. I belong to IANS, the International Association of Near-Death Studies, and they're willing to give you lists, or they give you stories or whatever. You can look at them on computer or whatever, yeah. Okay, so does that answer the question?
Okay, there's another question here.
Yeah.
It says, if someone is stealing in front of me, then I don't like this act. Does that mean I am stealing? The spiritual wealth links with financial health. Sorry, I can't really read this. The spirituality wealth linked with financial wealth.
It all depends upon how you feel about yourself. If wealth is all important to you, if achieving money and is to you, and success is everything to you, then you'll find happiness you seek, the wellness, the beauty inside you will not develop. It doesn't develop, it's already there, but it's blocked by your own, which would be egoic desires. Now, there's nothing wrong in making money, nothing wrong in becoming a success at what you love to do, because after all, love is motivating you. But the point is that if you think of yourself before you think about the other, because we're all one. Okay, so what happens is that you pay the price if you think of yourself before you think of the other. Like if you think of the other as being bad or done something wrong, then you feel that wrong you as a form of guilt or shame or inadequacy or whatever. I don't know. Did I answer his question?
That's a good one. And then we
Okay.
also have Apollo. Apollo Salim sent you an email and you invited Apollo to the meeting to discuss and would like to hear some of the answers to the questions. So I'm going to bring up the letter now. And we can ask some of the questions from the letter. Actually, it might be on the other email. Apollo, if you're on, would you key in some of your questions again, because we don't have that email in front of us right now.
Yes. Hi, Bert.
Hi.
Hi. I think it's even better if we don't take the email because it's more fresh now, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So tell me what is to you now.
Okay, so basically I realized that I'm not the I thought.
Beautiful. Okay.
And I am not that which
Now
is
this-
coming.
Right. Now remember too, another thing that happens is that sometimes we think I've realized that I am not the I thought, but there are five ways in which we come to the point of total realization of that. So I'm talking about when we fully realize that I am not the I thought. Wow. I mean, that's a big step. Okay. And if you remember them. Nishi, what is it that we
The first thing is we have a willingness to believe the idea, and so we say it, although we really doubt it. I'm not the body, for instance. The world is an illusion. There's something prior to I. Those ideas at first, we say them, we contemplate them, but we don't believe them. And then we look at them a little more and say, well, it sort of rings true in some cases, but it doesn't apply to me in my life here as a separate body. And then we see it's true more and more. If we're completely honest with our own personal inner experience and not with what we've been taught or told, we come to realize that, yes, indeed, it is true.
It is the truth.
Now, that's the fifth step is the final realization, which is actually beyond us, because at that point, we're no longer the I am. So we're not even the one doing the final step.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it comes to the point where you know it beyond the shadow of a doubt that you are not you. But at the same time, it's not a belief anymore. It's you know it. How can it be other time? It is the truth. You see? And the moment you know that is the truth, you can feel it inside. There is a peace that comes to you. However, if you think that you know you're not the I thought, but you still feel that somehow you are the body at moments when you write such a, there's nothing wrong with that. But you're going through a stage of experiencing that. Now, this is where it becomes important. If you're falling back to the realization that you are the body, that I am in this world, etc., etc., that's not wrong. That's conditioning. So what is forgive it. Now, how do you forgive? If I start thinking all the time that I am just Burt, I'm not this great truth, okay, then I see that this is just a thought. In my true nature, I know I am this. And as you keep on persisting, that persistence itself to know the truth is the holiest thing you can have. It is the most beautiful of all. And once you keep insisting, it will come just like that, you know. At any time, unexpectedly, you burst in this happy feeling and this joy of freedom that finally you know the truth.
Yes. So like I realized there's actually nothing objective about me. Like I cannot be seen, basically. And I'm not even the one speaking right now. But the thing though is like, as soon as I realize that I am perceiving thoughts, feelings, and events, this space just opens up instantly. Like it just opens up and I feel peace, I feel stillness. But it's still like I still have a sense of something going in and out of this in front of me. Like,
yes, but that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're beautiful. You're just going through the stages.
Yeah.
Still, it's a process, back and forth, back and forth. The only way to learn is not just reading a book. The best way to learn is that every time you fall back into that's okay. That's okay. Just be still and know I am. You see? And you keep affirming and go about your business. Keep on affirming it over and over and over again until such time you don't need to anymore. You begin to live it. But this process going back and forth, oh yes.
okay.
Yeah, it's part of our learning gizmo. Yeah.
Will there come a time where the I thought doesn't rise anymore? Or will it still rise, but there's no
Yes, nobody
identification?
can predict that. Was that?
Like, does it still rise when the seeing is complete, or just does it stop rising? Because I read Ramana Maharshi and he said, destroy the I thought and just be done with it, basically.
Yeah.
And I started doing the self-inquiring. I started doing the self-inquiry, and then I realized the one self-inquiring is also seen. Like, it's not, I am not the one that's self-inquiring, actually. But this still coming and going. And as you said, I'm having some trouble not forgiving it. Like, I'm not, I had this expectation.
That's right. You
it would
got
just be
it.
finished.
See how beautiful you are? Okay, you got it. So that's what you need to do. You see, it keeps coming back, but forgiving it. And it might take a long time, but it's not our job. We're doing the will of God, the will of Allah, whatever we call it, to see. And the will is that you wake up. And that is the greatest grace. And the only way to wake up is simply never up. And if you feel guilty for feeling that you are the I, forgive it. Because there's nothing to forgive. You're doing great. Yeah. It's all beautiful, really. You know, it's all, yeah. Bless you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great. It says 5 o'clock now. Do we have another question or?
Oh, really already?
Time for a question, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sure.
We had
Yeah.
some delay, so if you have any questions,
Sure.
we can still talk about it.
It's frozen here, isn't it? Oh no.
No, it's not frozen.
Oh no. Okay. Is anybody else?
It's interesting because I had one question, and Apollo, his question basically covered it, and it wasn't so much as a question, it was, what's the thing that's keeping us from this realization? And it's always one sort of hidden thing inside of us that we haven't forgiven. And at the very end, you become more and more aware of what it really is, and you recognize it's the
That's
desire
right.
to be separate, which is the desire to be an I.
Very good.
So that's the
was
final
beautiful.
one. So
Yeah.
what the Course in Miracles does is it takes you through the forgiveness process so that you're more honest with your own inner thoughts and you know what's really going on, and you just forgive some more.
Yes. Yeah. I forgive some more. Right. Yeah. Because we all feel separate somehow. We feel that the body is real because we do it. So you keep forgiving it all the time. And as in the Wednesdays to come, we'll be talking about how to do it, simple ways of doing it. You know, I find myself forgiving every day, 30 times a day or so. You know, so, but that's what I'm here for. You know, to realize the ultimate, and this is what it's about. And when you have goal, oh, that's what success really is. That's what, you know, the feeling of joy is all about. It's not what you attain or achieve, but it's what you are inside, the knowing of this eternal essence that you are.
Bert, I have a question. Is oneness and emptiness the same thing?
Is oneness and emptiness the same thing?
I would say yes, because oneness simply means that everything is one. But even though it's one, it's still empty in truth. So yes, I would say yes. Yeah, emptiness, everything is empty. You look around you at anything at all, physical or non-physical, any object, in other words. It all came from nothing.
Yeah.
It all came from the essence called right. So everything comes from that. Now, when we talk about nothing too, there is a great beauty with that. Think about it this way. In the world, we divide everything into duality, which is good and bad, right or wrong, which divide everything. Now, in spirit, there is no division. In spirit, there's only goodness, there's only beauty, there's only love, there's only oneness. When you are not sure, when there is something that deviates from that one, from that affirmative yes, okay, it is a no, so to speak, like it's wrong, it's not right, it doesn't feel good. That is an activity of mind. It automatically creates an activity of mind. In fact, you will find that the mind is 90% or more negative all the time. Always, oh, but what if this happened? What if, well, going back and forth all the time because it cannot see the beauty of the most empty itself, emptiness itself. The story of Adam and Eve, have you ever heard it as a child? When Adam and Eve is supposedly to be the first two beings on earth, and God said to them, you are perfectly pure, perfectly happy, free home, because it's a Garden of Eden. He said, but do not eat of the tree of knowledge. And then the yin, the female part, grabbed the apple and take a bite, and she said, oh, so what can happen anyway? She gave it to Adam, a bite too, and then they were thrown out of the Garden of Eden. So what it really means is that this tree of knowledge means the knowledge of good and evil, the good and bad. In truth, there is no bad, there is only good. In the world, there is bad, yes. And so when we so-called, the great change into consciousness, then we created time and space within that consciousness. And so this means that anything that creates time problems. Why? Because think of any negativity right now. Think of any at all. Mention any negativity. Anything at all. Regret, fear, shame, okay? What do they have in common? Time, past or future. But anything that is now, this very moment itself, beyond time, cannot be wrong, cannot be bad. You see? So think of emptiness as always pure, always perfect. The moment you time into it, it has become bad. And so the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden, it was meant that if you eat from knowledge, it means you want to figure things out as good and bad, duality. And at that point, you created duality. You see, opposites. Now, the way that things can exist would be to oppose. A face needs the back of it. You see? Front has the top needs a bottom. So everything has an opposite. Yin, yang. good, bad, right, wrong, all the time. When the two become one, which means in spirit, and time stops because time does not exist in reality, that is always positive and love itself. Perfect. Don't achieve it, it is always there. Love is always there. The reason people they seem to have everything going for them, and sometimes they write me and we discuss Skype together, and they've got everything going for them, you know, financial success, looks, everything. And then they say, I'm suffering so much, I'm suffering. But what is that suffering? You tell me, what is that suffering?
Sense of separation.
Very good. Sense of separation that causes all that suffering.
It's a sense of selfishness in a way.
That's right.
The more selfish you are, the more suffering there is.
Right. You can be wealthy, you can be beautiful, you can be healthy, you can have everything, but you'll always suffer. And that suffering is because you still think you are separate.
You live in duality.
You live in duality.
As long as you think you live in duality, you're
As
going
long-
to suffer.
That's right. It's inevitable.
It's
Right. So there are no problems in reality, what the course says. There is only the idea that we are separate. Separate from what? From God, which is the totality, which is the oneness. Are you still there?
We have another question. Do you want
Yeah.
me to read it to you?
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
question from Apollo. It says, I was into new thought before I realized this, and I am wondering, is there any purpose in programming the mind when there is knowing that I am not my thoughts?
If there is knowing that you're not your thoughts, there is no programming, no.
Exactly. There is no
Yeah.
programming.
No,
Yeah, so you can't
No.
program anyway. It's just an illusion.
no, right, right. That's it, yes.
So the only thing you can really do is recognize it and believe it or not. I have an example, like for instance, if you baked a pie every day and you left it out and every day you go to eat your pie, it was missing. You didn't know, well, what is pie? What's causing my pie to go missing? And so you finally put a camera on it and you notice like a squirrel drags it out the window every day. So after that, you know you can stop the squirrel from taking the pie out the window. It's the same thing with thoughts. We have all that's happening is we have these negative ego beliefs that keep us from realizing this.
Yeah.
And when we catch, they're over after that. So
That's right.
you have the power to believe in your
Yeah,
thought or
yeah,
not, but you're
yeah.
not the author of the thought.
But at the same time, as long as you think you're separate, you
Mhm.
always have thoughts.
Mhm.
Thoughts of being
That's right.
judged, thoughts of being this,
That's
thoughts
the
of being that.
consciousness.
That's the consciousness.
Right.
And right now, there are many people teaching non-duality, but teaching it in consciousness. They bring consciousness into being because they don't know there is something deeper and finer. You know, that's what I believe, that this is how they think. So they think through consciousness they can eradicate everything they can. You can do many beautiful techniques. They do work temporarily, but they do not cleanse you. They do not take away the untruth. It will stick with you like glue until you realize that you are pure in your essence. You're like a child, you know. Okay, beautiful people, are you still there? Anybody?
Yes, thank you so much, Burt. I think you've answered a lot of
Okay.
questions today. We've learned a lot. I've learned a lot myself. So
Oh, good.
I look forward to meeting you. I mean, talking to you
So
again.
we'll see you Friday then, eh?
Yeah, you'll see me Friday, and we'll see each other hopefully in another section next Wednesday.
Yeah, next
Oh.
week, 4 p.m., everybody's invited. And
Right,
next
yeah.
week, we're going to go more into forgiveness and what forgiveness
Yeah.
really is.
And if they feel like giving, you know, some donation, it would be greatly appreciated. Okay.
Okay,
so
guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Just some fun facts. I just learned that squirrels, they couldn't find 80% of the nuts that they've hidden. So he might as well go
That's cute.
go
Yeah.
go doing some meditation. Yeah. All right.
Thanks. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.